Things are going from bad to worse for Ubisoft. An investor has come out pointing out that the company is in a nosedive and wants them to immediately change CEOs from Yves Guillemot to someone else, as well as to take the company private so they will not be beholden to market investors. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com, and the stock price plummeted 7% yesterday as the company faced pressure from investors to take the company private, as I mentioned, as well as reports that the Star Wars Outlaws sales are incredibly soft. Excuse me. So the stock price has fallen to a low of 13.67 euros. I don't know. How do you say that? 13, because like not $13. I guess 13 euros and 67 pence or something like that. I'm not sure how you do the coins there. Specifically, it fell over 7% in the past day, according to Yahoo Finance. The stock price has declined over 16% in the past 5 days. It is down over 41% in the last 3 months and nearly 30% in the last 6 months. In the last year, the company's stock price is down over 50%. In the last 5 years, it has declined over 81%. Massive declines across the board for Ubisoft. Stock price is constantly going down. So as I said, the most recent stock drop comes in the wake of Star Wars Outlaws reportedly having soft sales, as well as Slovakian investment firm AJ Investments urging the company to go private. First, it was reported that Star Wars Outlaws sales were performing much worse than Star Wars Jedi Survivor in the United Kingdom. Games industry head Christopher Dring detailed that Star Wars Outlaws, quote, launch sales are 55% lower than what Star Wars Jedi Survivor did. He added it was 15% bigger than Ubisoft's massive last game, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, but I think that game did not do very well when it launched. It was much softer launch than obviously than even Jedi Survivor. So not looking good on that front. And obviously UK, much more limited market, but I think the fact that you're seeing 55% decline probably is reflective in other areas across the world, probably reflective here in North America as well, which I would wager is where the bulk of the sales for Star Wars Outlaws are happening, given the fact that I think Star Wars is a predominantly North American property. Specifically, when we look at movie grosses and things like that, especially the new trilogies, did not perform as well in China as, say, Marvel films. And this data, this 55% decline, it was reflected in a report from True Trophies that detailed that the game only hit 25th place in its top 40 most popular PlayStation games chart the week it debuted. The outlet's Kess Eilers Stevenson shared this. Number 25 is just below the middle of the chart, and it sits behind pretty much every major and middling live service game in terms of popularity right now. Normally, these are the early 20 spots for PS Plus's indie games debut, not new AAA open world games. In its second week on the chart, the game fell to 28th place. For comparison, Concord was 29th on the chart during its early access and open beta weekends. I think that was in July. Astrobot and Harry Potter, which just debuted on the chart this week, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions, they debuted this week. They're both in the top 10. Astrobot was 8th, while Harry Potter Quidditch Champions was 10th. So that kind of gives you a comparison of where Star Wars Outlaws was when it debuted. 25th compared to Astrobot, Harry Potter Quidditch Champions being in 10th. So I think this does indicate that sales for Star Wars Outlaws were indeed soft, not what Ubisoft needed from this game. And I think it should cause a ton of worry because you know what's coming up, Assassin's Creed Shadows. And that game, I think, might actually perform worse than Star Wars Outlaws. I think there is a very big possibility that that one performs worse because I just think there's been a lot more negativity surrounding that game and what Ubisoft did with that game, and specifically Yasuke and Naue, and how they've treated the Japanese people and how they think of the people that they want to buy their games. So on top of what looks like poor sales, AJ Investments sent an open letter to the board of directors of Ubisoft urging the company to go private or sell to a strategic investor. In the letter, the investment firm specifically took issue with Ubisoft's lowering of its revenue outlook for its second quarter. That second quarter, we're in that right now. That is obviously when Star Wars Outlaws released for Ubisoft. They wrote this. The investment firm wrote this. The recent quarterly results, which included the postponement of key games like Rainbow Six Siege and The Division into the 2025 lineup, and a lowered revenue outlook for the Q2 2024, have heightened our concerns about the management's ability to deliver value to shareholders over the long term. Share price of Ubisoft has decreased by more than 40% over the last year compared to rise of its competitors and indexes. After detailing how they believe the company should be valued at between 40 and 45 euros, the firm posited the reason it is not there is due to current management. They wrote this: Ubisoft at current state is mismanaged and shareholders are hostages of the Guillemot family members and Tencent who have taken advantage of them. Management is focused on pleasing investors with beating quarterly results and not focusing on long-term strategy to provide exceptional experience for the gamers. So obviously AJ Investment trying to get gamers on their side. I don't think that's very hard. I think Ubisoft has turned themselves into the villain here with all of their various strategies, whether it is Ubisoft Plus, whether it is describing games as quadruple A that are absolutely terrible, whether it's just straight up lying to investors on investor calls about their games, about how the quality of their games. Star Wars Outlaws, I think, is an example. I think they straight up lied talking about the quality of the game, and it was bug ridden. They had to literally put together a day one patch in order to allow people to progress through the game because players were literally getting stuck in space and couldn't return back to the various planets. I mean, that's how broken this game was when it shipped. And they were asked to delay the game because there were concerns about the quality. And they said, no, it is gold and we're shipping it. It's just unacceptable from this company. And then they have comments like, we have to get gamers used to not owning their games, yada, yada, yada. I mean, just they've done this to themselves. There's no one to blame but themselves, on top of all of their woke agenda, which is all over their website, all in their games, clearly trying to push that agenda through video games to basically reshape society. So Ubisoft has no one to blame but themselves for what they've done. What is really interesting about this letter, though, is that it actually accuses Tencent and the Guillemot family of purposely degrading the company's stock price so they can purchase shares to take full control of the company. The letter says this: we believe that the Guillemot family and Tencent are discounting potential value of Ubisoft in order to buy more shares at lower valuation and eventually take full control of the company at heavily discounted valuation. We value the great work that has been done by the Guillemots over the decades in Ubisoft, but now is time to move on and restart the business with new shareholder approach and new management CEO. So some of the grammar is a little iffy. I think it's because they're how they translated it. I'm not sure if they used something like DeepL or something like that, but clearly I think this letter was initially written in whatever language, Slovak. I don't know if that's Slovakian. That's the language that the investment firm uses in their publications. I know that's where they're based out of, but clearly I think that's some of the issues there. According to the letter, the Guillemot family controls more than 25% shares in the company and around 29.63% of the company's voting rights. And if you go and look through all the investors, there's like 10 of them, like over like almost a dozen members of the Guillemot family that own stock in Ubisoft. Obviously, Yves Guillemot is the CEO. So in order to improve Ubisoft, the firm suggested the company be taken private by the Guillemot family and Tencent in order to, quote, allow the company to address its issues away from the public market pressures and make necessary changes without harming minority shareholders, retail investors, and pension funds that are victims of these efficiency problems and mismanagement by current leadership. They also urged that Ubisoft sell off a number of its studios, saying Ubisoft should consider selling its studios that possess talent but are focused on non-core games, thereby allowing Ubisoft to streamline operations and focus on its main IPs. Those main IPs they want the company to focus on include Rainbow Six Siege, Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, Watch Dogs, and the various Tom Clancy titles such as Splinter Cell. Finally, they want the company to hire a new CEO. If these demands are not met, the investment firm threatened this: we will use the French minority law to collect enough shareholders to start proxy fight and initiate sale process of Ubisoft to increase shareholder value for all shareholders. And so they think that they have the ability to indeed do this. So this is what is happening with Ubisoft. Stock price declining 7%. You have minority investors threatening a proxy fight. They want Yves Guillemot replaced as the CEO. They are not happy with what is happening. They are accusing the company of degrading the stock price on purpose. So like potentially sabotaging their own games to lower the stock price. I mean, this is just absolutely wild what's happening here. And then obviously Star Wars Outlaws sales doing poorly based on all the metrics that we have now. Of note, we have not seen any posts talking about how many copies they sold. If you recall, it's one of my previous videos. We've talked about how one investor was predicting that it would be maybe 5 million copies total. And he was saying that that was a very conservative number, given how much Ubisoft was kind of hyping the game. Remember, they sent all of those people to Disneyland. They were putting the biggest marketing spend ever on this game. And where did it end up on the chart? 25th. Where did it sales place on the UK chart? 55% lower than Star Wars Jedi Survivor. So they literally chased bad money with bad money, just basically throwing it away. Probably would have made more money creating a YouTube video Joker style and just lighting that pile of cash on fire and getting people to watch that than they would have doing all of these trips to Disneyland, paying for all these people to come out to the hotels, paying for their airplane flights, etc. Would have been probably a better marketing stunt to just burn all of that money in a video, Joker style, from The Dark Knight. But this is what Ubisoft chose to do. They've chosen to basically destroy their own company. And these investors think that they're doing it on purpose so they can gobble up more of the stock and take more control of this company. But let me know what you guys make of what is going on here with Ubisoft. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.